Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Pavani. I hope you're doing good. Let's see what we have got in the Hindu today. I have got a very interesting quote for you guys. Common sense is not so common. What do you understand from this statement? Do let me know in the comment section of this video. With this, flat 50% off is available on our pen drive and Android courses. Last date is 12th December. Make the most out of it. To find out more about it, do check out StudyIQ.com. Today we have 4 articles. Very quickly, I'll give you a bird's eye view. Shock resignation. It's about Urjit Patel's resignation. Yes, governor, or I would say that the person who was governor till yesterday of RBI, he has resigned. Second one is about this one, is about tuberculosis. Very interesting article. This one is about genetically modified crops. And the fourth one is about Sabrimala issue. So let me start with this timeline that you can see on your screen. I'm going to take you through only those important major milestones. When I say milestones, I'm talking about those events that took place between 8th August 2018 till yesterday. And then, of course, once you download the PDF, make sure that you go through this whole timeline. It will take 4-5 minutes max, but we don't have that much time to go through each and every point. So we have one RBI management, right? And then we have RBI board. Right. So here in management, you have governor, you have deputy governor, you have other, basically you have all those officials who are like, who are part of this RBI. And then you have RBI board. You have a few of them, few management people on this RBI board. And then you have representatives of government and other peoples who are, sent by government to be part of this board. Now the thing is, like any other, RBI governor, I'm sure you are aware about this corporate structure. You have this board of directors and then you have one CEO. So CEO is basically among, he's one of this board of director, but all these other board of directors, they have elected this CEO so that that person can play a sort of leadership or more active role, and that person will be accountable to this board. So this is something similar how it works in this RBI as well. Now, 2 people were, added or taken on board of this RBI board, and RBI was not happy with this Nachiket Moore's removal, but then as well, means RBI management opposed removal of Nachiket Moore, but then as well, he was removed. And in October, what we find is that Section 7, right, this Section 7 of RBI Act of 1935. Now, for regular students, I'm sure you are aware about this thing, that it's been more than 83 years, right, of this RBI Act. And this Section 7 was never, ever used, right? Till now, it was never used, but on 10th October 2018, Section 7 was used by government. So how it works is that if government wants something, right, if RBI is not happy about it, if RBI is not doing something, and if government wants to make sure that RBI follows the instruction by government, then government can use this Section 7, and then RBI has to follow this thing. So this indicates that this so far. See, I have said this thing earlier on as well, that you find a little bit of issues, a little bit of problems between apex bank and central government. That is something quite common, because central government will have a touch of politics, and this RBI will be working, or apex bank will be looking after all those technical things. So naturally you are going to find a little bit of clashes, but this sort of clashes are manageable. This clash is part and parcel of this economy. But when you have to use this sort of things, Section 7 after 83 years, then this is a clear indication that things are not going very well. It's just like sending a sort of divorce notice to your spouse, and it's like a warning or something like that. And Deputy Governor Viral Acharya was not happy about this thing. He he came out with a speech as well about autonomy, and autonomy has always been, from last couple of years, this thing has always been a bone of contention, or you can say the main topic when it comes to governor and governor of RBI and government. So finally, what we find is that yesterday, 10th December, Urjit Patel resigned, and he cited personal reason behind it. And I'm not quite sure about the name of this, editorial shock resignation. If you go through this timeline, then we can clearly see this thing, and we can clearly understand this thing. We can comprehend this thing, that it's not a sudden decision. This thing, it's not a shock, right? I would say this disease, or you can say the symptoms, we can see at various different phases, particularly in last 2 to 3 months. Now, former RBI governor Raghuram Rajan has said this thing, that when a public servant resigns, it is a sign of protest, right? So what he did the same thing. Now what we are saying is that, let me tell you that he is predecessor. That means he was, before Urjit Patel, RBI governor Raghuram Rajan was our RBI governor, predecessor of Urjit Patel. So he was not happy with the government, or there were some issues going on with government and Raghuram Rajan. Here as well, we can clearly see that issues are there, and one of the main issue is, as I told you, autonomy and independence of governor, as well as autonomy and independence of RBI as an institution. So this incident, or this thing, it places a question, a big question: is the center capable of working with economists with independence? As I told you, that economists, particularly independent, or those economists who are having this, they have this, I would say, gene of independence. Like they will speak things that are right. They will do, or they will act on things. They will take those actions that are good for economy. When I say government, I'm not talking about just current NDA government or Modi government. This applies to all the governments around the world. You have to understand this thing, that government would like to see interest rate coming down, so that more business people or more businesses can take loan, and they can invest, and they can create jobs. This is something that each and every government in every country would like to see. But this is something that cannot be allowed, isn't it? Because it will pump more money in the market. More money means value of money will come down. So this is something that cannot be allowed by an apex bank. Apex bank will work on more technical things, right? So this sort of things can create sometimes problems between government and apex bank. Now, this is not the first or second incident. We have also seen the person that you can see on your screen. So I'll give number 1 to this gentleman here, and number 2 to this gentleman here. Can you give me the name of number 1 and number 2, and can you also give me the position they used to hold? All right, both of them have resigned as well from government. So here we have, and again, both of them were economists. So here we can see that 4 economists are not happy with government. So it's a big question: is center capable of working with economists with independence? Now, this decision of Urjit Patel has created a sort of, a shock wave, and it will have an impact on, of course, financial market, and also it will impact the sentiments of investors, and the government should act immediately, right? Government has to do something to quieten these sentiments of people that are aroused by this resignation of Urjit Patel. The public demand for easing of rules and setting the agenda, this thing has, upset the governor, and it is not about this one person. It's not about Urjit Patel as an individual. It's about an institution, right? It's about institutional imbalance that we can see within RBI. It's something that is it's an institutional imbalance that is visible between government and RBI, and this is, of course, it will generate negative sentiment. And the new governor will also be, judged, and new governor will be placed under this microscope by investors, by stakeholders. They will be, keenly observing his or her action. So if you don't have an independent person, then that is negative. If you have an independent person, then we see this sort of situation. So it's a catch-22 situation for our economy. That's what we can say. So make sure you stick your answer in the comment section about these two gentlemen here. Now moving on to next item. I hope things are clear to you. Second item is about anchored in human rights. Now yesterday we were talking about air pollution, and now air pollution kills, as you know, or it has killed some 12 lakh plus people, right, just in 2017 in our country. And around the world, when we say global south, we are talking about not southern hemisphere countries. We are talking about countries that developing countries, right? They are also many times termed as global south. So tuberculosis kills 2 million, 20 lakh people die every year because of this disease called tuberculosis. And it's a matter of shame that this disease is preventable, it is curable then as well. It is getting more and more severe. More and more people are dying because of this tuberculosis. We have medicines, so that's a good thing. But still, expansion, or you can say reach, is something that is missing. Awareness is something that is missing. And today we are going to focus on those things only. Now, United Nations Declaration of September 2018 is united to end tuberculosis, an urgent global response to a global epidemic. Let me read it out again for you so that we can understand word by word, we can comprehend what this title is trying to tell us. United to end tuberculosis, that we have to work together, because this declaration is coming from United Nations, so the whole world has to work together, because there is an urgent need for a global response to end this global epidemic. It's not a thing that you find only in our country. It's a disease that you find in various different parts of the world, and because of today's traveling has become easy and things like that, so it's spreading as well. Now, for a country like India, it's a big thing, because roughly 25% of burden of TB is here in our country. And we have highest number of multi-drug resistant TB as well is here in our country. We have millions and millions of people. There are so many people out there we don't know if, and even they don't know if they have got TB. So when it comes to India, when it comes to some negative things and this sort of diseases, then we are always in a very bad position. Now, the target of United Nations or the world is to end TB epidemic by 2030. So this is global target, and I have a question for you guys. Can you give me the figure or the name? Can you give me the year by which India is going to end, or India's target? What is India's target? UN's target is 2030. I'll give you a small hint. Our target is a bit earlier than global target, but let me tell you that 25% of TB burden is on our country. So anyway, you should be knowing about this target. We have talked about this thing many a times now. Now we are talking about implanting a microchip, right? That's the main concern here. That's what this article is trying to tell us, or that's what the core theme is of this article, that at present people are working, or the stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, I'm talking about those people who are in this you can say sector, who are either they are trying to invent some medicine, means someone who is pharmaceutical company or government. The biggest thing that we can see at present is this microchip, or the whole focus is basically on technology and gadgets and things like that. And what we are thinking, or what we are believing, is that if we inject this sort of microchip in patients, then we can track them. We can we can know exactly where they are. And we have this sort of programs as well, like DOTS, directly observed treatment, aka DOTS strategy, which requires patients to report every day to health authority, who watches them swallow their tablets. So this sort of things are, I would say, this sort of things do take place when we fail, when it indicates that we have failed in creating this awareness and this creating this proper regime. Because with tuberculosis, you have to take medicine for a bit of long time. And if you're just focusing, or if you're just targeting that patient, then that's not going to help. You have to work with all those people who are surrounding that patient, and only then we can achieve some sort of success. Someone should make sure every single day that the person is taking medicine. Someone should be there in contact with those doctors, and there should be multiple visits and frequent visits and things like that, rather than just injecting a sort of microchip. This sort of things will not help. But what happens is that you can just track that person, but you cannot create that culture. You have to see. I think what we have to do is those TB patients, right? At present they are TB patients, but tomorrow they have to work as, or we can make them work as ambassadors, right? Or these ambassadors or warriors in this fight against TB. So you have to have a long vision if we want to achieve our target, as well as if we want to end tuberculosis in the world. So our focus should be more people-centric. People should be in the center and not technology. If we go back, then in last 50 years we have just got two new drugs, right? One is bedaquiline, and the other one is delamenid, right? I'm not very good with the medicine names, they are a bit difficult to pronounce, but here we go. So we have these two medicines, and only new this in last 50 years. These are the only two new medicines that we have got. But anyways, they are good medicines. They have a good success rate when it comes to this drug-resistant tuberculosis, because other medicines that we have been using till now, they have their side effects. They take a toll on body and things like that. So we have these medicines. Now we have to make sure that this medicine is accessible at a reasonable rate to each and every patient in our country. Because if we go through data, then we find that we have this medicine, but only 30,000 people have got this. They got this access. They received this new drugs, and compare this to over 5 lakh people who get sick with this DRTB, that is drug-resistant tuberculosis, every year. And this drug-resistant tuberculosis is it can take a very severe form. So we have to make it more affordable. We need to have this human touch where people, they go out there, where ambassadors or this, patients who are out of this TB, they can help us create this awareness. And we have to win this battle. India versus TB. Remember this campaign by Amitabh Bachchan in India versus TB. He says that TB will lose and India will win. The country will win. And that's what we have to make it possible. And all of us, right? We all can work as ambassadors. We can create awareness about it. Like, say, for example, in our country, the biggest problem is that people spit here and there. Spitting is a very big issue. So we don't know. Means there are so many people out there, they are not aware about this thing. There are so many diseases like TB and so many other things. That those patients who are affected by TB, if they are spitting here and there, then that can create a very miserable life for so many people. So we have to create this sort of awareness, and every one of us on our own capacity can play a very important role. And TB is such an important disease that you can find a question directly on this thing as well, because there was a big meeting this year, remember, in 2018 in Delhi to end TB, and that was the occasion where Prime Minister said, or he came out with this target to end TB. So this is to end TB. This target question is your third question of the day. Now let's move on to another item. Don't believe the anti-GMO campaign. Now there is a journal called Current Science, and we find one article in this journal called Modern Technologies for Sustainable Food and Nutrition Security, written by P.C. Kesavan and M.S. Swaminathan. As I told you, M.S. Swaminathan is known as father of green revolution in India. Now, when someone like M.S. Swaminathan is saying that BT cotton is a failure, then of course people like you and I will believe that yes, it has failed. because we are not masters or we are not working in this field. But there are scientists out there, they are not happy about this paper, like K. Vijay Raghavan, who is Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India. He has said that this paper, that means this particular article, right? That's what in journal, when you write something, it's called paper, research paper. So this paper is deeply flawed. That's what K. Vijay Raghavan has said. If you go through National Academy of Sciences of USA, Academy of Sciences of African Academy of Sciences, Indian National Science Academy, then all these three big names, they have supported genetically modified technology. And BT maize and cotton, if we go through this potential yield and actual yield, so there was a big gap. I'll help you with this graph here. So just imagine this is 100, right? So that's what your potential is, but at present you are creating only 20 or 30. So your potential, you can become best, you can achieve 100, but you are achieving only 20. So there is a big gap of 80. So there was a big gap back in 1996 and 2015. If we go through this year, then we find that this gap has decreased, and this is possible because of this BT in maize and BT in cotton. 2016, 107 Nobel laureates, they came out, they signed a letter, and they said that they challenged Greenpeace to drop its anti-genetically modified organism, this GMO technology stands. Greenpeace was against genetically modified organism, but this 107 laureates, they said that this is not a proper stand taken by Greenpeace. There are a few reports out there, and this article is saying that this GM or this BT GM is it has helped poor people. It has created good results, like when it comes to reduction in use of pesticide, which increases input cost. Use of GM has led to reduction of 37% when it comes to pesticide. Yield increase has gone up by 22%, and profits for farmers have gone up by 68%. So it's a good news for farmers, and yield and profit gains are more higher in developing countries compared to developed countries. The other thing is, there are people out there, they say that feeding this sort of GM corns and other items to animals or cattle will create cancer and other diseases in them, but there are no evidence supporting this rumor, or I would say this thing, because there are animals out there in USA, right? And there are other places as well. BT corn, soya bean, all these things are fed them. They have been given to them from last 15 years, and no sort of health issues have been reported. BT cotton yield was 300 kilogram per hectare during 2002. At present it is 500. There are countries out there, they have this 800 kilogram per hectare, like say for example China. And there was a time when we were importer, now we are exporter of raw cotton. So this thing has been possible because of this BT cotton. And after China, we are number 2 in cotton production, though area in China is small compared to India. So this indicates that they are more efficient. We are not that efficient, and this is one of the reason of this opposition of BT cotton and this sort of articles saying that they are not good. So all these things play indirectly a role in it. Now it is unfortunate that farmer distress is being wrongly attributed to BT cotton failure, and it's not just cotton. If you go back with this GM mustard, DMH11, the unique thing about mustard is that they are self-pollinator. So this thing was taken into consideration by scientists, and they created a sort of this GM mustard, and it was working well. All these tests and everything were positive, but then as well it was not promoted. Same thing went with the brinjal, right? Moratorium. That means it's not launched. It's packed. And there are countries out there. Bangladesh has, it is reported that in 2017 there were some 6,000 farmers. They cultivated BT brinjal. So GM technology is, of course, not a magic bullet. But if we evaluate things case by case, then we can move ahead. And if we are, if we will keep on opposing these things, then we are going to lag behind. And there are so many benefits out there. And so far, we don't have any sort of strong negative evidence against this thing. So there is no point of running away from this thing. Now, here, this one is about Subliminal Temper, and it is talking about a very basic yet important thing. We know, we all are aware about this thing, that Kerala is a very developed, when I say developed, I mean to say that I'm talking about not economically, right? I'm talking about overall development, right? Holistic development we are talking about. So when it comes to education, health, things are a bit okay, things are a bit good. Not okay, but they are a bit good when it comes to, why did I say okay? It's good, in fact. Education is quite, higher education and literacy ratio and all these things are a bit higher in Kerala. But then as well, we find that women in Kerala are not that powerful. One reason is because they are educated, but when it comes to labor force participation of a female worker, then it is quite low. When you are not working, then you are not, if a group is not working, then that group will have less power to create a sort of social impact or political impact or other sort of economical impact. So that's one reason. And the second thing that has been said in this article is that the presence of women in governance, this Keralian women in governance is quite low. If we observe legislators or in high courts, judges or in political parties. So these are two reasons, right, basic reasons. And if we go through, say, Sabrimala is an issue that we have talked about many a times. So I'm not going to what happened and what was the stance and what happened before 1992 and later on. So we have talked about all these things. Now this article as well is a repeat of all these things, but a few points are a bit unique in this article. That's it. Now let's move on to news items. Big news, London court orders extradition of Malia. Malia has said that he's willing to pay his creditors, and now we have Malia will have some 14 days to challenge or to file a review petition or to find a sort of legal way so that he can evade his extradition. If you go through this table here, then you can find that he has borrowed from some 17 banks, and without excluding interest, it is something around 7,000 crore or 9,000 crore he owes to various different banks. Nothing in the medical report showing torture has been said by Supreme Court. This main accused of this shelter home abuse case, Brajesh Thakur, has said that he was tortured, but this medical report has not, it's not having anything that can prove that he was tortured. Then plea in High Court, let women enter Nizamuddin Aulia Dargah. So after Sabrimala, we find this new voice, or you can say from other part of our country, we can find that women are asking for this entry into Nizamuddin Aulia Dargah. North Kolkata, air quality remains very severe. Yesterday we were talking about air quality and so many things. So here, yesterday I told you about Indo-Gangetic Plain. Look at the situation of Kolkata here. Grigorovich class frigates in 3 years. We are going to add some more frigates in next 3 years. They will have guided missiles and all these sort of things. They can also have BrahMos cruise missile too. Now we have a good news for our nuclear power plant. Kaiga nuclear power unit, which is in Karnataka, has created a world record for the longest uninterrupted operation of 941 days, breaking the earlier record of 940 days by the Heysham plant in UK. Many combination drugs not approved by regulator, and because of these things, so many people are facing challenges when it comes to TB, malaria and other diseases. US should withhold aid till Pakistan acts on terror, has been said by Nikki Haley. France has blamed Russia for this protest, and direct tax collections have gone up. So that's a good news. These are your vocabs. Yesterday's map-based question is Bahrain. Manama is its capital. And go through some other items that you can see on your screen. Now I have a question for you guys. Can you give me name of one, or if there is any country. Is there any country in Middle East that is landlocked, completely landlocked? If yes, then give me the name. If no, then you have to prove it. And then you have this answer of yesterday's question. Today I have got a new question for you guys. Again, it's a geography based question. You can download the PDF of today's lecture from my FB page and Twitter handle. I have already shared it for you guys. And make sure you subscribe to our channel, share this lecture with other students, and don't forget to hit the like button if you have genuinely learned something from today's discussion. And please pass your answers and your valuable feedback in the comment section of this video. I will see you tomorrow. Till then, enjoy your studies. God bless you. PIBs are just coming out in a minute. Have a good day. Jai Hind.